So I understand that the Iranians now have missiles that are putting U.S. Navy ships in danger. Can you tell me about the situation in Iran?
It's very interesting. It all stemmed back to the fact that the Iranians don't trust us and we don't trust them. And in 1988, we accidentally shot down an Iranian airliner. And there were lies told on both sides about the incident, but the bottom line was the captain of the ship was in Iranian territorial waters when the airliner was shot down. 260 people were killed. It was terrible. And they were civilians. The Iranians responded by blowing up Pan Am 103 in partnership with Libya. But they did one other thing. They then engaged the Chinese and other companies to start building weaponry for them, North Koreans. One of the weapons that came out of this was a cruise missile that the Chinese built called the 800. It then advanced to other series. Right now, there's an advanced version of the C-802 cruise missile. It can literally sink any ship we have. It's extremely dangerous. We have no defense for it, and our government claimed we did have a successful defense for the missile until we learned that the SS Hanad, an Israeli ship, was nearly sunk by one of these missiles when a Revolutionary Guards working in Lebanon on behalf of Hezbollah shot two of them at the Israeli ship. One hit the ship, almost sank it, and the Israelis weren't able to stop it. We usually share this sort of technology with the Israelis. So this raises real questions if we end up in a war with Iran, what our Navy is going to be facing. Now, we got a hold of secret documents which show that as far back as 1997, the United States was aware of this problem. The Joint Staff concluded that these missiles gave Iran effective control of the Persian Gulf. That's a quote from the documents. And what's really interesting about this is that I got personally involved because I was in Paris at that same time, meeting with an arms dealer, and inadvertently was at a meeting with the Chinese representative representing the missiles. And he wanted this arms dealer, the guy's name was Ping, he wanted this arms dealer to take on the missile and distribute it throughout the Middle East. The arms dealer, Sarkis Oganeyan, is very famous. He was the guy who supplied Saddam Hussein for the United States when we liked Saddam. Anyway, Soganeyan loves boats, and Soganeyan was offered the yacht built for Deng Xiaoping, the Chinese president at the time, in exchange for representing these missiles. And I know there were at least two meetings where the Chinese tried to get Soganeyan to do this. I convinced Soganeyan to procure a sample missile for the United States so we could develop a defense against it. I contacted the Pentagon's proliferation office. They welcomed the offer. They took it to the CIA, and the CIA stopped it because the CIA was already working with an arms company that collected arms for it called Vector Microwave. The problem is, it turned out that Vector Microwave's chief executive officer, a guy named Donald May, was in fact in business with the same company that built the Chinese weapon for the Chinese army, secretly. The CIA didn't know about that. But anyway, the CIA could not develop a defense, could never get a copy of the missile, never got one, stopped Soganeyan from providing it, and so there was a gap in U.S. naval defense. It's one of those kind of weird, bizarre stories that happens, but this played out over a 20-year period. And as far as I know, as of now, the Chinese have stopped supplying Iran, but what is happening is that Iran backward engineered the missile, made it better. It's better than the Chinese version, and it's better because they got some of the technology, A, from Israel, B, from France. The turbopump was made in Texas by a division of a French company called Labanal, and their division Microturbo in Texas made the device. So American workers were actually making turbopumps for a missile that could shoot at American ships.
And the U.S. wasn't aware of this?
They became aware of it, and we made them aware of it, but nothing was done. It just was allowed to happen.
And why do you think that nothing was done?
Politics. The Clinton administration kept threatening to demarche China over it, and demarche, they call them demarshmallows, by the way. They're diplomatic things saying, don't do this. And demarche France, and the French just denied it. They just kept denying it.
And I saw in your article you said that we were blaming Libya for some of the things that were going on, like the Pan Am flight.
Oh, Pan Am 103, the bombing. Well, this is this is a real legacy of Ronald Reagan's administration. The United States didn't do very well getting terrorists. So we had to catch a terrorist. Now, it's a little hard to catch a terrorist when you're secretly negotiating with a company that pays for the country that pays for the terrorist, in this case, Iran. And we were doing Iran-Contra and all kinds of other secret negotiations during the Reagan administration. And they simply did not want those negotiations and their history with the Iranians exposed. So, instead of taking Iran on directly, they decided they were going to make Muammar Gaddafi in Libya the blame for all of these terrorist attacks. We knew that Iran was responsible for Pan M103. Our intelligence people knew it. The bomb that was placed aboard by Libyan intelligence was all approved in advance by Iran. And they even were sending money. They sent an American named David Belfield. Daoud Salahuddin is an Iranian who defected to Iran, committed murder for the Ayatollah, on a mission to Libya to warn them that they weren't to do any terrorist activities without first clearing it with the Iranians. I mean, that's how bad this was. And I heard that firsthand from Belfield. And
so now it's led to all these 802 missiles.
Oh, now?
Yeah.
The first missiles were $60,000, had a range of about 40 miles. The new missiles have much longer ranges, can carry nuclear warheads, and have over-the-horizon radar capability, meaning no ship in the Persian Gulf is safe. So instead of just shooting the missile off and having it go straight at a ship, it can fly over the horizon and then drop down and hit its target.
So it sounds like it's pretty dangerous for us.
It is. A volley of 4 missiles to 6 missiles with conventional warheads can actually sink the biggest U.S. aircraft carrier.
And what's keeping Iran right now from using them against us?
Well, we have pretty big guns on our side too. But if a decision is made that a preemptive attack on Iran's nuclear facilities, those will be launched from U.S. aircraft carriers. We'll be launching cruise missiles at them. But the problem is they'll be launching cruise missiles back at us.
And why haven't we developed any technology to fight these missiles?
Well, there's a debate about it, but these cruise missiles are extremely hard to shoot down. And the problem is, what happened to the Israelis is they had a radar protection to protect them from another kind of attack, and the cruise missile came in under it at that time. So you can't apparently protect these ships from all threats at the same time. You've got to pick what you think you're going to be attacked by.
And you said these missiles might spread around throughout the Middle East?
Well, Soghanayan told me that the attack on the USS Cole, which was a dome of a rubber boat that went into the side of the Cole, the National Security News Service provided the very first pictures to the world of the Cole's damage. This 40-foot gash on the side, this hole that killed 17 soldiers. That was not done with a bomb. That was, in fact, done with one of these C-802 warheads that Al-Qaeda had gotten a hold of.
And all this is also being done in conjunction with a company that's located in the United States, a French company,
well,
and
in the early days, Labanol made these turbopumps. The Israelis developed the seeker head for a missile called the Samson. Back in the day, when we were supporting Saddam, a lot of this technology transferred to the Middle East. There was a very famous arms expert named Gerald Bull, who had gone to prison, was a criminal. He was later murdered by the Iraqis who got angry with him and gunned him down outside his apartment in Brussels. But anyway, he became a key player in this because he was getting information from the Army Research Computer Labs at Aberdeen from their supercomputers and passing them on to his clients. And among his clients were the Chinese, the Iraqis, who then sold back, and the Israelis who were selling to both sides.
So why would our allies, why would we allow this to happen? Why?
Money.
It's all money.
It's all about money. And in fact, the French kept doing it after we warned them. And Soghanayan was caught in the middle because he had worked for U.S. intelligence. U.S. intelligence then abandoned him, so he went to work for the French. So he was obligated to the French government. One of the funniest things that happened is I was a witness of this Chinese representative, M. Ping, of the People's Republic in Paris. And I and Sarkis's assistant, who was this woman named Veronica Pacure, who was a very nice French woman, but supplied by French intelligence, were there when this guy was making his pitch, and they were going to lunch So I grabbed up his file, handed it to Veronica, and I said, make a copy of that for me. And I talked her into it, and she did. That's how we got the documents. But in the middle of her copying it, Sarkis had forgotten his wallet and came back. And so I quickly had to make his cover story up for her that she was in the back doing something. Well, he got his wallet left again. But we did get the documents, and we got him back here, and that's how we now know the story.
And so now, is this the first time this story is coming out to the public?
Bits and pieces have come out before, but this is the first time I've actually made the documents public. And so in addition to the story we put on the website, all these classified documents are being made public. And what's interesting is what you learn is that Mansour al-Qassar, who's an infamous Syrian arms dealer, was representing the Iranians in the story because they didn't like what the Chinese were doing. They thought they were being cheated by the Chinese, so they hired him. In the meantime, the Iranians and the Chinese wanted to sell these missiles that they were developing together, so they got a hold of Sogan and then were working a deal with him. And the Chinese wanted to spread them all over the world.
So now it sounds like it's a big mess. We've got all these missiles that we can't shoot down.
Yeah, we got all the missiles, and it doesn't matter because they're so cheap. They can be launched from trucks, patrol boats, anything. And what's interesting is about a year ago, in January of last year, the Iranians began swarming our big ships. They'd have little boats come in and swarm our ships. What they were doing was trying to light up the radar to see what radars they were using to see what would happen if they did send off one of the missiles.
So, I mean, what does that tell us about how they intend to use them in the future?
I think it tells us that they're ready for a U.S. attack, and that this is not going to be like attacking Afghanistan, or it's not going to be like attacking even Iraq. This is a country that can fight back.